Welcome to my party, we're just getting started. A life is a dream or a nightmare scarring. Hand me a drink, cause I think I'm going all in. Get me a shrink who can catch me when I'm falling. Cover up my scars, grip the handlebars. Crashing in my car, wake up in a bar.
Welcome back to the channel, YouTube. Today on the Two Broke Guys YouTube channel, I'm coming at you live from the University of Texas at Austin. Well, just on the outside of it, while I'm walking back to my apartment. Today's going to be a little different of video, more of a technical style video, and I'm going to walk you through how to set up something on MegaSquirt. I said I'd do it in the last Fox Body video, so today I'm going to go through there and show you what you would do if you were brand new to the platform and you wanted to start going. Now, bear in mind, I'm still very new to this stuff, so I'm going to say some wrong information, but if you want to correct me down in the comments, and everybody can learn. But yep, just walking back, just got out of my machining class. That's why I got my handy dandy safety goggles, because safety third. And but yeah, once I get back into my apartment, I'm going to show you how to go through MegaSquirt and some tips and tricks that I picked up along the way. However few they might be, they are still some. So get all that set up and I'll get my computer out. Alrighty, we made it back to my apartment. I planned to start filming this video a little earlier, but turned my computer on, and of course Windows had to update. So had to sit here, wait for it to update. But figure some of y'all are probably wondering, where's Andrew? Where's the other broke guy? Well, it was his birthday this week, so naturally that means he can't work on his car. And so that means he wasn't able to get you any content, but here I am, to the rescue. Thursday night, trying to put out a video for tomorrow, because as you know, we release videos every Friday. Here I am, coming to the rescue, because he couldn't be bothered to work on his car. Get on him in the comments. Attack him, get him working on that car. I'm a little worried that while I'm here getting my schooling in, that he is not going to work on his car. We got to get him and my cameraman. We got to get them working on a car. But today, like I said, I'm going to show you about the MegaSquirt stuff. Alrighty guys, quick change of plans here. I ended up going to Best Buy and bought me a webcam and a microphone. So hopefully, this doesn't sound absolutely horrible. I'm still figuring out the settings on both the webcam and the microphone. And if you see me looking over there, it is because I currently have it to where it just turned off. My TV is the other monitor, and it's just showing me what's being recorded. I'm going to try to keep my focus right here, but inevitably I am going to keep looking at myself that is over there. So we'll get this adjusted a little bit. Anyways, let's open the TunerStudio here. Go ahead. There we are. Now I'm down at the corner. I just open it up. If you were brand new to this, you'd click Create New Project. And we can name it whatever you want, like 1966 Mustang. Oops, spelled Mustang wrong. Just name it whatever you want. And then you could change where you want it to save stuff to. I don't know what keeps making that noise over there, but we'll find out. This is where you could do this one of two ways. So the first way is you would have this plugged into your ECU that's already in the car, or ECM, whatever you want to call it. You'd have this plugged in, and you just click detect, and it would scan the ports of your computer and look for it. Now this is the easiest, simplest way to do it. You might have to, I know when I was doing it, I had to move around to different ports, and I think if I was better with computers, I would have been able to, figure it out and get it to where it was at the port that I had it plugged in at. But you just move it around, it'll find it, and it'll detect it, and it'll just cancel this. It's not going to find anything. It's finding AirPods and stuff. That's not going to help us here. Another way you can do it is if you had your the ECU, what's it called? The firmware that's running. You just select it from this list, and it'll tell you on the back of the actual MegaSquirt box. I have multiples of those boxes, and I wish I brought one to UT. That way I can actually show y'all in this video. My apologies for that. but it will show you on the back. And if the sticker is no longer there, you can take the cover off, and it's also in there. You'll be able to find it. But you could select this, and selecting this would just let you continue on. Yeah, it keeps doing this. It would let you go on and move on like you were starting a brand new car. And it's something if you wanted to set up, if you were real good at this and you wanted to set up a tune before ever having the computer in the car, before ever plugging this into the car, more power to you. That's exactly what it's for. Me personally, I was not that good. So I had to start with a bass tune that MegaSquirt gave me. There I was looking at myself over there again. And I had to, adjust it from there. Here, let's go and let's just cancel this. Remember what I said? You can just click next and it would take you in there. But for now, I already have this one set up over here. Just going to click test. You can open it up, and this is your gauge cluster view. And you can change the gauge clusters to anything you want it to be. So you got your RPM right here. You have your map pressure right here. The MegaSquirts do have a built-in, I believe, 5-bar map sensor, which is good for, how much is a bar? I really should know. I'm an engineer.
Hey, look, buddy. I'm an engineer. That means I solve problems.
Anyways, more than enough for 90% of the people out there. So maybe even more. But 5-bar internal map sensor, all you do is run a vacuum line from your intake to the MegaSquirt, and when you buy one, it's actually included. They give you, I think, I got like 10 foot of rubber vacuum line, and it worked out just great. I just went there, cut off what I didn't need, ran it inside the car into the firewall, or through the firewall into the passenger side kick panel, which worked out on a Fox body. If it's a different car, it's somewhere else. If it's a car that never had one, it's wherever you put it. But then we got the injector settings right here. This will show you your duty cycle. These little, if you notice here, you have the actual gauge line, but then you have these like ghost lines, and that it shows the highest point that it got to. It resets every now and again, but it's like it's a save point. It's not a save point, but it shows you where it was. So you can see like on the AFR, it'll show like the leanest condition, and then it'll come down, and that's just a way to show you your most crazy number that it saw. But here's your duty percent, here's your pulse width in milliseconds. This is your VE, which goes into the VE table that we'll get into here in a second. Here's your timing, and here's your manifold air temperature, your coolant temperature, idle PWM percent. That is for the IAC valve, intake air control valve. That is the PWM percent of basically PWM is pulse width modulation, and the higher the percent, the longer it's being pulsed, so the more that IAC valve will open. This idle target right here, this is for the closed looped idle control. This is like if you want it to idle at let's say 1200 RPM or something like that. It'll show what your target is, and you can compare it to what your actual RPM is over here. Like I said, here's AFR. This is your target AFR, much like the idle target. It'll show you what it's targeting at the moment and then what it actually is. This ego correction, this is how you set up if you have a wideband, which is something I highly recommend. Get a wideband sensor. If anything, it's just numbers for you to look at, and don't base your whole tune off of it. Don't rely on it solely, but it's definitely good data to have. So you got a single wideband. I think you can set up dual wideband, which is cool. You can read both banks, which is something I want to do on that 66. Something I don't have on the Fox body, just because I didn't want to buy another wideband sensor, which I have another one, but I'm saving it for the engine stand that y'all might see eventually. But right now, so single wideband. This right here, this controller authority, this is the only thing that I really recommend messing with unless you really know what you're doing. These are all values that were already there. Probably should be values that stay there, in my opinion. I mean, there's going to be times where you have to change it. But, for right now, leave it there. Controller authority, That's how much. And when you're first tuning, I'm glad I remembered this. You actually kind of want that at 0 because you don't want the tune being corrected while you're trying to tune it. Ideally you want to get it to where that the tune is not being corrected at all by the wideband sensor. So you set it to 0 at first. Once you get the tune where you like it, where it's running good, where without corrections, you can put it up to 20%, or I had it at 20% because I just had to get to that race and I needed it to work out good. Really, you probably want 5%, something like that, some small number. I mean, the least you can get away with it having to correct. You do not want it doing all the work. You want your tune to be good enough that it has to correct nothing, but you want it there in case things happen. So I'll close out of that there, but so this is your gauge cluster view. If you go over to here, this is your tuning and dyno views. It just shows a simplified gauge cluster, and it'll show some the data logs, or some of the data right here. You got your TPS, your map, and your AFR. It'll show that, and I don't really use this view very much. I'm sure maybe it's important if you need it, it's here. Really, the next thing I would look at is the, we'll look at that here in a second. Look at this here in a second. So the MegaSquirt system has the ability to auto-tune. It's not the best, but it does work to an extent. It can help you. It gets you to where you can start driving quicker, and then you can really go and play and make the tune look a little better. If you see here, this is your VE table. This is your fuel map, which you could have multiple fuel maps. Well, I don't have multiple fuel maps set up, so it's not going to let me click it. But it looks like you can have, I don't know how many tables you can have. I believe it's 3. It shows 3 here, but I could be wrong. And that means you can have a flex fuel tune, a race fuel tune, 93 tune, whatever you want. And by the way, when it's plugged in, it won't say offline, and these will actually be doing things. The things on the side here will actually be doing things. But here's your fuel load on KPA. And you can scale this differently, so you can change this value to 200. That's a lot. And then you could scale it down, and that would allow you to deal with boost, which is something we'll have to do on that 66. But right now, it should never really go above 100 kPa, which is 14.5 psi atmospheric pressure, and then it goes down. This is vacuum. So once it goes up here, it'll never go above atmospheric pressure on an NA engine. So for NA, keep it at 100. If you're boosted, you're going to have to scale this differently so you can actually, make fuel adjustments in the boost range. Same with the RPM down here. You have a red line. Let's say you're running a Coyote with I don't know anybody who's running a Coyote on a MegaSquirt, but small block 4, revving to, let's have it rev up to 8 grand. You could set that there, and then you could scale this all down, and then now you can tune out to that rev limit. Now that is not your rev limiter. That is a different part that we will get to in just a second. I forget what that was. Let's just put it back to 64. But you can have it on here, and you can make the changes. You can go, run through it. I'm using the mouse keys. There's different hotkeys, but you can also just click on it, change the value, and let's make that 33. There you go. And also you can revert the changes, so you have a tune saved on here, and let's say you really mess up, and you're like, crap, it is running like crap now. Let's take it back to where it was. Control Z, you can do that. You can select a whole bunch of them, click to back to original value, and it'll go back to it. And you can also select a whole bunch of them, and let's say you want to increase them by 1. They all increased by 1. Now, let's say you want to increase them, or you want to scale them. You can scale them by, let's go 1.1, so let's scale them by 10%, increase them by 10%. there you go. It did it. Go back to the original value. There's interpolate, which basically you got, let's say you got two numbers right here. It'll find you a number right in between to a certain extent. Y'all can look up what interpolation is. It's essentially finding a number between two numbers given another set of numbers. I really should know this. This is on like all of our tests as a engineer here. I don't know. I always forget how to explain it. Sorry about that. But then you can also smooth the cells, and that makes it to where it'll transition smoothly between the numbers. If you didn't want to do it like this, and let's say you wanted to get fancy and you wanted to go to 3D tuning map, these I think are cool because you can go in and you can actually select this right here and drag it down. And let's say we want to get rid of these peaks and valleys because they really shouldn't be here. You can drag it around, rotate it around. See, that peak should not be there. And I set this one up like this so that we can show all this. Ideally, you'd want a nice, smooth hill ramp kind of deal that goes up like this. And, sorry, man, realized I had a shadow on my face. But ideally, you'd want this nice and smooth, no peaks, no valleys, no hills, no troughs. And you can go through here, you know, move around, move to different parts of the tune. I always thought this was kind of cool. And I think you can change the background color if you don't like black, or if you want the, various backgrounds. I will exit out of there. Oh, also, if you make the changes on here and you're actually plugged into your ECU, you're going to want to hit burn after almost all changes that you make. If you really want it to take effect, click burn. Or over here, save on ECU. You're going to want to do that for all of them. No matter what, it's not going to do anything unless you click burn. Or in this case, this is a live changer here. So doing that will instantly change it on there, but it won't save it on the computer. It won't save the tune. To do that, you need to save on ECU. Or you can change update controller here. This will make it to where this won't actually affect the computer in real time until you click apply. But with the update controller, it is a instant change. Same with the ignition tables. Now these ignition tables, you're going to want to really know what you're doing. You could really mess up your engine if you, let's say you tell it 40 degrees of timing right here. It'll do it. So be careful. It will make direct changes as soon as you click that in there. You click 44. That's bad. You're not gonna have a good time there. Okay, I would revert that back to starting value, and it might just cause it to shut off. It might hurt it, but just so you know, whenever you type in something right here, it will make the change. Now burning it means that it is saved on it's essentially safe. It's like burning a CD for people in the older audience here.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
It's for like burning a CD. Just saving it. So we'll close that. You can type in notes like like if we want to make notes right here as you're tuning, you can. And this will save. Whenever you save the tune, this will save on there. So the next person that opens it up might see all your notes, see what you did. And it just makes it easier for you or the next guy. You tell yourself, oh, I got to remember to do this. Well, you can put it in there. No need to have a notepad right here unless that's your thing. More power to you. But it's all right here. You can make notes on there. You'll save it with the tune. You don't have to worry about saving another text file with it. I find that kind of nice. But so these are basically the different views. Like I said, we'll go over the graphing here in a second. But we have the engine. So those are the basic load options. If you were first starting up, this is probably how it just started. Let's see here. So required fueling. Engine displacement, you'd put in my case, it's a 302. Number of cylinders, 4, or not 4, 8. The injector flow, I got 24-pound injectors in it right now. And the air-fuel ratio, this is what you consider stoichiometric ratio for the fuel used, which in my case is pump gas, so it's 14.7. If you go into ethanol, it's actually fatter. It's like 12 something. Don't quote me on that. You gotta look it up. Look up the stoichiometric ratio for the fuel being used, and that's what you want to put right here. If you're more into the not freedom units, you can always change this to cc's and cc per minute. Me over here, freedom unit over here. So we got cubic inches and pounds per hour, because that just, I love hours and I love pounds and cubic inches. We don't need no cubic centimeters over here. What even is that? Minutes? Psh, can't. But anyways, put it on there. Now, you are able to set this up with a MAF. In fact, my car came with a MAF. It anything past 88 might have been one of the first years to all cars had MAF. Before, only the California cars had MAF for emissions reasons. But then they all went to MAF. That's mass airflow. And my car had it. I took it off. It's recommended on a lot of the systems that are, aftermarket tuning systems. They're all pretty much speed density. Speed density with a barometric bonus or whatever, because you can read the map sensor. So, or a map sensor bonus. But pretty much all speed density. But the injector staging, this is just setting up basically how you want the injectors to fire and how you want the pairs of them to fire, because they're going to be linked up. That's a little out of the scope of this video. I'm just showing just leave it like this. It will be in there like this, unless you have a crazy 302 that's a 2-stroke somehow. You're going to want it 4-stroke, or if you're working with them spicy Doritos, you might have a rotary. But in my case, 4-stroke. Probably going to be 4-stroke for a while. It'd be cool to get a rotary, but number of cylinders or rotors. Found an 8-rotor. Was it Rob Dom's 12-rotor that he's building? I guess it's not his 12-rotor, but he's building it. Anyways, check out those videos. That's actually pretty cool. Number of injectors, you got 8. You can do even more if you wanted to. Let's say you were doing like a drag and drive setup and you had 8 regular and 8 additional to give you extra fuel, or you're trying to make some huge power and you have dual injector per port. It's possible. You can set that up. It's your engine size. We already went through all that. So you'd set that up, click burn, close that, and then you'd go to your fuel settings, and we already kind of looked at all this. Don't really need to work with all this. This is, as you learn more, you can get further into this, but it's not important for the quick startup. The EGO control, we went over that in a second. That's how you get your wideband to actually do stuff and actually make it to where the tune is affected by the wideband, which, remember, don't want to do that first. At first, you want it to be straight tune. As you get to your fuel table, you can go to your AFR table. These are the target AFRs. So, in the idle area, you do want it to idle a little rich. Kind of, 13.7 was kind of where I was hoping it would idle at. It just, you run it too lean at idle, it'll start warming up too quick. And you'll put strain on your cooling system at idle when there's no air going over the radiator. This is a good place to sit, from what I've read and seen and done on my car. But you can set this up. You can adjust this to, I think right now these are showing pretty darn rich, because I did not want to lean out the car while I was at the racetrack, or at the autocross event. And I did not have time to really
nail this tune down as much as I wanted to, because as always I was doing things last minute. Like now, it's 9:30 and I'm trying to get a video that Andrew has to edit tomorrow. But sorry. Yep, see, 9:30 right there. But so we'll close this. That's your AFR table, your ignition settings. So you can change all kind. Oh, you can also set up a knock sensor if you wanted to. Let's say your engine came with a knock sensor, like a new LS or something, or you put in a knock sensor, because certain 302s in the Explorers had knock sensors built in. The Fox bodies never got knock sensors to my knowledge. It was just an Explorer thing, because the Explorers kept the small block Ford 302 for quite a bit longer than any of their other cars. That's where you get the the Explorer heads, Explorer intake. At that point, they were the 4-bar heads, the GT40P heads. Anyways, that's not important right now. Sorry, I keep going on these tangents. But yeah, you set up a knock sensor, put it in there, which could be helpful. It'll let you hear spark knock or anything like that and help you know, oh, I got too much timing in here. Oh, no, I'm detonating. But yeah, you can set that up. Go to idle and startup. This is going to be your next thing you look at. So let's take a second here and we'll put it back on me real quick. So there are two main tune setups. There is closed loop and open loop tuning. Closed loop tuning, that is where it is taking into account your AFR gauge, your map, the targets that you have set, and it is adjusting the values of the IAC to meet that value. So let's say you wanted to do closed loop idle. You set a idle target of 900 RPM. It's going to see that, oh, I'm too far above 900. I need to bring it back down, and I need to close the valve a little bit. That way it doesn't let as much air in and the idle can drop. And it'll do that. And it'll move around and try to keep it at your target. Whereas open loop is pretty much the opposite. It takes into account nothing. It does not look at your AFR. It does not look at your targets. All it does is you tell it a specific amount to open up, and it will stay there and open up to that amount. And if your engine's running great, it'll just hang dead right there. It'll 900. Like, you told it to open up that much, that's all it needs. But you turn on the AC, puts a little load on the engine, drops down. It doesn't know it. It doesn't know it dropped down. It has no way to know. It's kind of different to think about, because you think about, in my mind, open loop would mean that it's open to change. It's looking at things. And closed loop would mean the opposite. It's closed off. It's one value. It's quite the opposite. It's talking in terms of like a control system. And in a open loop control system, you have just a single gain that goes across. Just think of, input, gain, output. Whereas a closed loop, it'd be input, gain, and come back around to a feedback loop. And it would allow it to change the gain, and just it's a controls perspective, not like, it's not very intuitive in my opinion. But that's basically the main difference between closed loop and open loop. I've always heard you want to get your closed loop dialed in first and then go to your open loop. I'm sure you can do the open loop and then go to the closed loop. I'm still not quite sure how the MegaSquirt system switches between it. I know it does open loop until it warms up. So the open loop is only really used for the warm-up cycle until it gets to, I think mine is set to go to closed loop at 180. So once it gets to 180, or maybe it was 170, that way it doesn't go in and out. Yeah, so once it goes to 170, it goes to the closed loop and starts taking into account, the temperature and the AFR and all your targets. Whereas closed loop didn't do that. But that's just the main difference between those two. Remember, closed loop, it actually looks at everything that's going on. Open loop, it's a very dumb system. Not dumb in any sort of derogatory way. It's just, it is not intelligent. It will open up to a certain value, and that is it. But here, let's get me back on the screen here. And but you can go up to here, and let's see right now, closed loop idle settings. So this is your idle valve duty percent when it's closed. That's you play around with these numbers until you basically, these numbers are kind of like a black art. It's kind of crazy. You would think it would be very easy to figure out, and you would think that being that Ford made so many of those IAC valves, there would just be numbers that worked. There's not. So you got to go up, and you just try different numbers, and as it goes up, if you stop hearing the RPM raise, that is the number you want to keep right there. Basically, you go until it doesn't change at all. So let's say 34.9, the duty percent of that corresponds to the valve being all the way open. It has no more authority. And basically, you're setting the bounds of where you want to be. So you want to work between 12.2. Anything below 12.2 doesn't open the valve enough to do anything. So no authority there. Anything above 34.9, nothing. It's already open. At that point, you go anymore, you risk burning up the valve. You just want to keep within these range, and this is how you're setting up that range. Let's see here. The closed loop gain. This is if you wanted to, let's say you had a target of 900, and for this sake, say you had a target of 1200 RPM, and you wanted to idle at 1200. You had a big cam. You really needed to idle. And you set all this up, and no matter what you did, it would just idle dead smooth at 900 RPM. Well, in that case, you need to increase the gain. That way, it increases the amount that it's telling it to do, and just basically, as you increase the gain, it'll raise your RPM up to where it needs to be. So you increase the gain until the system, which is your engine, matches what it is being told to do. And that's something you can do. That's a very basic way to do it. If you were more in tune to PWM and you actually learned about that, and if y'all like these kind of technical videos, I might go through and I'll explain PWM control to y'all. I think it's very interesting. But you can go through there and change your PID settings. So PID stands for proportional, integral, and derivative. Again, I'll get into that later, but for most of the time, you just keep it at basic and just change your closed loop gain. I messed with this a little bit. Actually, no, I didn't. This is just how it has it. I haven't messed on this one. But this is your idle activation TPS threshold max. So basically, if the TPS goes above 2%, meaning your foot just barely touches it, it stops trying to idle. Because at that point, the throttle blade's kicked open. It doesn't need that IAC valve. IAC valve closes. RPM threshold goes above 1,000 RPM, which I think that is actually the max. So you can't have it idle above 1,000. I mean, like I said, you can change this gain and make it idle. Okay, you could bring it up and it'll idle at 1,500 if you really, cranked it all the way over here. If you really needed it, you could trick it into doing that. There's probably a way to get to tell this to idle higher. I'm not sure. I try to do anything else and it tells me no. The load threshold. This is the load like on the VE table. This is the load on the left-hand side of the table. PID lockout on active. Oh, this keeps it from entering the closed loop idle if the clutch is in. Not sure why it needs that. I'll get back to you on that one. If I remember and I figure it out between now and the next video, I'll make sure to tell you. That's interesting. I'll look into that. That's kind of cool. So next thing you can do here, if you wanted to change to a scratch my foot here, open loop, like it says, warm up. Also, right here, this valve frequency, you just kind of got to work with it. Again, you would think that they'd all be the same. They're not. They're not. Some people are running 440 and swear by it, and right now I'm running 92. It's working just fine. So play around with it. You'll notice that your valve on some frequencies will ring, and you'll hear it ringing. You don't want that. So you go to a frequency where it doesn't ring, but you can still it's still doing something. You go too low, it won't do anything. You go too high, it stops doing things. So you really just got to play around with it, figure out which ones works for you. You're not going to hurt anything by moving around these things. You just got to find what works for you. These inverted versus normal, that's basically whether or not it thinks the neutral position is all the way open or all the way closed. On Fox bodies, it is, I believe, naturally open. Okay, that's why it said inverted. But some of them are flipped, where even though it's naturally open, you still have to put normal. It's kind of weird on that. Or again, you just got to work with what you're doing. If you click normal and then all of a sudden you hear your RPMs go up to like 2 grand, you know that it's backwards. You need to put inverted. Again, not going to hurt anything, but, just be mindful of that. But we'll close that. And so now that we're in closed loop idle. Oh, wait. Yeah, this is the idle target. Sorry. I meant to do open loop here in a second. But this is your idle target. You can set up, this is your coolant temperature. And this is your RPMs. This is the RPM that it is targeting at a certain coolant temperature. Over here, you kind of want it a little higher of an idle, which it should be on closed loop or open loop at that point, so it doesn't really matter. But you can change this. You can click this. Whoop, move it up, move it down, move it all around, whatever you want it to put to, and that'll be what it targets and changes the IC valve percent until it reaches that point. Let's see here. Pretty much you can change the idle air conditioner idle up. That'll make it where if it notices that you turn the AC clutch on, it'll open up the IC valve a little bit and basically make the engine idle a little higher. That way the load that was just placed on it doesn't bog it down. You'll see a lot of new cars do that. They'll cycle when the AC cycles on, they'll rev up a little bit and stay at a higher idle. You ever listen to a new Tacoma sitting next to it? It's very pronounced when the power steering or the AC clicks on. You'll hear it jump up to go from 800 RPM to 1,000, and it'll just sit there. It's weird. Ask me how I know. I have one. You can set up idle advance that has to do with your timing and stuff like that. This after start enrichment, that is after it starts, you give it a little extra gas. I'm not exactly sure what this is for. I think it's right after it starts when it, you start it up, kind of revs up a little bit, just keeps it from going lean. That's my assumption there. You can start, this is your taper that kind of tapes it up there. But this warm-up enrichment, this is useful. This is if it's cold, it's going to want a little more gas to start up. And you just adjust these, and it basically acts as a multiplier to your fuel table and just ups it so it starts at colder temperatures. And you just play around with this until, you got a real cold day, got down to 0 degrees. You go up there to start it. It's going to need some more gas. You move up and start it. Starts good. As it warms up, you'll notice that it might need a little more gas in some areas, a little more fuel in some areas. And you can just adjust that here. You can do it on the table, or it's drag and drop, just like the other one. We'll close that. We'll go to idle control. We'll show you the closed loop real quick. Let's go close this. Wait. I want to show you open loop. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on there. I guess on open loop, yeah, this is just it. So it just opens up to a certain value. I cannot find where it tells us. Where is that? Yeah. I think it's something to do with this and not actually plugged in, so it's confused. It's not letting me switch it into the open loop stuff. Oh yeah, here it is. It was. So this is the open loop, and this is as it's this cold, I just put a weird shape in there just to show y'all what you can do. This is basically the PWM, the duty percent that you want to put it at, based on coolant temperature. So if it's real cold, you want it more open. As it warms up, you need it more cold or more closed, because it's already warmed up. It doesn't need that open as much to run at a higher RPM. So you just move these around, and as it warms up, it'll get to there. And by the time it warms up, you'll be down to this point right here. And you can move this out, move it all around, move it wherever you want it to warm up at. And remember, this is really only for warm up. You don't have to do anything. This is not meant to help it when it comes to all the time driving around once it's warmed up. This is just to get it there. So I'll close this. Let's see. That's really most of the basic settings. There is boost control settings. You can get in here. It'll do some cool boost, and you can do boost mapping and stuff like that. It does allow you to do that. The 3D tuning map, I already showed you that. This is your, not gonna lie, I don't know much about CAN bus, so, if you want, I can find out more and I can tell you, I can tell you all about it, but right now, I don't know much about it. Oh yeah, you can set up launch control. Another thing that this computer lets you do is flat foot shifting, or no lift shift as it's sometimes called. And that's one of the main things that I believe that I am interested in. Basically, flat foot shifting is where you can keep the throttle pedal all the way to the floor, and as you put in the clutch, it will lower the RPM. It'll cut RPM to a predetermined value, and you can shift. And it makes it to where you don't have to, lift while you're shifting. You can just flat to the floor, clutch in, shift, and be just fine. And it lets your transmission live. You might could even do it with a T5, even though I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, hey, I'm going to try it. I do plan to set up flat foot shift on that Fox body, which has a T5 in it. But that's something I'm real excited to try. All you need is a clutch switch. And with a clutch switch, you can also set up launch control and have it where it does a 2-step or a 3-step, depending on what you want to do. But you can set up that all in here. I think you can have it says you can have a nitrous system here. You can have nitrous. You can have some on-off outputs, like you want it to, I can't think of an example right now, but if you want it to do something and turn on a light or something like that, you can tell it to do that. But you do have the boost control settings, do all that. But let's say you get the tune where you like it, and you're going to go drive around and test it, but you want to take data. Well, this is really good for data logging. You do this, and you go to graphing and logging, and you click Start Data Log, which I'm not plugged in right now, but you'll put whatever name you want, click Save. I'm not going to do that right now. It's just going to make an empty file for no reason. And you can click Start Data Logging, and you drive around. As you're driving around, just drive normal. You can have the auto tune going if you want. You can just drive around. But let's open up a previous file that I had. Fox body tuning, data logs. Okay, you open it up and it'll give you this view right here. It actually records your VE table, so you can see it moving around. We can tell it to skip forward here. It's just me revving it around, and as it's doing it, this will show you AFRs in white. This is before I fixed it in the last video. This data log's like it's from January, so it's like what, 7 months old. But the white lines, AFR, red lines map, TPS is the yellow. Actually, TPS is green, sorry. The yellow is your correction. So on this one, I had 0 correction. But if you saw the one now, since I gave it authority to have correction, you'd see it spiking up and down and moving around like that. But you can just click play and you can watch what it's doing. If you knew there was a certain spot you wanted to get to, you can skip through it. You can go over here and I'm using the arrow key right now. Here, I'll show you. Kind of clicking the arrow key there. Put that back up there. And you can move back, forward, zoom in by the up arrow. Zoom out, back arrow. Whoop, too far. You can do it on here, and this will show you all kinds of information down here. Move my little guy out of the way so we're up there. And but yeah, here, probably gotta start wrapping it up. This is a long video. Sorry about that, guys. But so that's TunerStudio. Now there is a trying to open it again. It comes with Megalog Viewer, which is the logging software, but you can set this up however you want and set up other different inputs right here. Let's say you set up EGT temperatures. You can have it set up here and log here as long as you have the needed logger box that comes with the EGT system that you decide to put in. You can display it on here if you wanted to, and you can add all kinds of things. And this just lets you view it. Again, you can click play and go through the run. The only thing that this one doesn't show you is whereas when you open it on here, it shows you the VE table. I think you can actually look at the VE table on this one, but I haven't quite figured out how to do it. Yeah, not quite sure how to do it. Anyways, but I guess that is a pretty broad overview of the MegaSquirt system. In later videos, I'll try to get a little more in-depth into the different tuning methods you can do, or thought processes behind it as I'm learning. I'll take you along the process as I'm learning it. And but I hope you liked this more technical style video. It's a much longer video. These are the kind of videos I like to watch. I like to watch these kind of videos that show a process from start to finish, and I'm just gaining information. And I really hope that I helped y'all gain a little information here. Let's see. So closing thoughts about the MegaSquirt system is, here, we don't need to look at there anymore. My closing thoughts is that I really do like the system. There are issues, like it is very hard to get an idle correct. Yes, I know that. Everyone who's worked with a MegaSquirt will tell you that it's hard to get the idle to work. And once you do, and that's really, I think it's on the Ford side. I think it's trying to work with the Ford IEC valve. Doesn't work out very good. I've heard that you can fix it by using a new Ford valve from like a Ford Focus, apparently. And actually bolts right in. I'm very interested in that, and you might see more of that in the future. Or you can switch to a LS style throttle body and use that IEC valve, and apparently that works great. But I really like how just open this platform for tuning is. I mean, I've looked into the Holley stuff. It looks great, but really you just can't do as much. And not to mention, MegaSquirt is cheaper. You're not paying for that Holley name. Andrew won't agree. Andrew's going to say that Holley is the best thing you can do. And if you're just looking for something easy to get going and you don't want to have to learn how all this stuff works, go Holley. That is the way to go. On this one, if you learn what you're doing and you learn what all these settings mean, you can have a mean car. And there is more here than you will ever be able to use, in my opinion. Whereas you might find yourself locked out on a Holley. Like, you can't do flat foot shifting on a Holley. That's not something that can do. That's something this can do. So if you want little features like that, or you just want to really understand what's going on, this is not quite like the old style of binary editor, like what you'd use to tune a stock computer. It's not like that. But it's also not as it's not as user friendly as Holley. It's like it's a middle ground. You have to know what you're doing, but you get more freedom. Android versus Apple. There's a lot of freedom to do a whole bunch of things on an Android. But the user interface on an Apple is just better. And that's coming from someone who has both had an Android and has an Apple right now. This phone works out great. This phone works out great too. And it's just what you're trying to work with. Like this with my iPad. Oh, this is the key right here. I'm taking notes with my iPad, bringing it over here, vice versa. But if you're trying to do things, technically you can do more on this. And I think that's just an important way to look at it. Do you prioritize freedom of being able to do stuff or quick and easy? And quick and easy, great. I personally like quick and easy sometimes. But I do want to learn what I'm doing. And I think that me going forward, I do want to continue with MegaSquirt because I want to... I feel like it's a better learning opportunity for me. But so that's just me. I just found out that MegaSquirt actually came out with their MS3 Pro for the Fox body wiring harness. So that's something I'm looking heavily into for that 66 because you can pick up a brand new wiring harness from I can't think of the people who make the painless wiring, and for about $500, and that'll get you a brand new harness that I can put in that 66 and have this MS3 Pro plug right in, and just know that if I can tune my Fox body, I can tune that car. Now that car will be turboed, so it'll get a little more crazy, but if I can tune this, I can tune that. But yeah, so that's really all I got today. If you stuck around to this point, thank you so much. I did enjoy making this video, and I hope you learned something. And anything I might have said wrong in the during the video, just comment down below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully, we might be starting to do some more podcasting things. Just try to keep me in the loop, and maybe if I think of something, I'll do another video like this. I hope y'all liked it, and see y'all next time.